Welcome back to another episode of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Madison Olms, with our forecaster, Gavin Sandel. Gavin, what's the weather looking like this weekend?
Well, that's a very good question, Maddie. It should be much different than what we saw at the beginning of this week with all the lake effect snow showers and the cooler temperatures. Heading into the weekend, it should look pretty good until a low pressure system makes its way into our area on Friday. And with that, we'll see some rain and maybe some scattered snow showers up north. But apart from that, going into Saturday and Sunday, it should look pretty good.
All right, well, I'm hoping to see those spring-like conditions pop back after the week that we had.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I will tease it a little bit. We might see some 50s heading into next week as well.
I love to hear it. Up next, we have our Nature in the News.
It's been a mild winter here in State College, though 6 years ago, it was a much different story for the entire Northeast. In March of 2018, 4 successive northeasters slammed the region. The first system blew through on the opening day of the month, giving much of the interior Northeast a dumping of snow. This storm was famous for its gruesome winds. Coastal locations such as Maine, Cape Cod, and Long Island experienced hurricane-force wind gusts along with flooding rain. The storm ended up costing $2.25 billion in reparations, which tops the 4 as most expensive. Less than a week later, a second storm flourished on the heels of the first. Though the low-pressure system was weaker than the first, the heaviest bands of snow came closer to the coast, and cities such as Newark and Hartford received over a half a foot of snow. 6 days later, the third and strongest storm arrived. New England claimed the jackpot, with places such as Portland, Maine, and Boston, Massachusetts getting over a foot of snow. On the heels of this storm, the fourth and final system made its impact. Much of the mid-Atlantic region in states such as Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania endured the greatest impacts. State College received over a half a foot from this storm. This month will live in the books for a while, as several major cities broke March snowfall records due to these 4 storms. The rest of this March should look clearer than what we experienced just 6 years ago.
The Easter holiday is hopping up on us rather quickly, and egg prices are putting a crack in many people's budgets. The price of eggs climbed 8.4% in February from January, according to the latest Consumer Price Index. On average, a dozen eggs cost just under $3 in February, compared to roughly $2.50 in December. February's average price was lower than last year, when a dozen eggs cost $4.82 in January 2023. As Easter approaches, there is a higher demand for eggs, which could affect the price. However, experts say that this coincides with a limited supply due to an ongoing bird flu outbreak. 82 million birds have been affected since early 2022, when cases of avian influenza were detected. The bird flu led to record egg prices and widespread shortages. Given that there was confirmation of bird flu in November 2023, egg prices have increased again in recent months. Prices are predicted to decrease 2.8% in 2024.
Speaking of anniversaries, this past week marked the 13th anniversary of the deadly Japanese earthquake and tsunami. The quake, which occurred on March 11, 2011, was the most powerful earthquake recorded in the country, registering as a 9.0 on the Richter scale. The shock's epicenter was 45 miles offshore, which incited one of the most infamous tsunamis in recent history. The wave was reported to be over 130 feet tall and killed thousands as it made its path inland. Though there was a tremendous loss of life, the just 4-year-old earthquake early warning system developed by Japan gave the public around a minute to prepare for the major strike, and a similar tsunami warning gave folks living on the coasts more time to escape to higher elevation. The Fukushima nuclear plant, which is in the path of the tsunami, lost cooling power and displaced hundreds of thousands of nearby residents in fear of overheating. The wave spread throughout the rest of the Pacific Ocean, impacting U.S. states such as California, Hawaii, and Alaska. Overall, the recovery ended up costing $122 billion.
A comet is putting on a display as it approaches the sun just in time for April's North American total solar eclipse. According to NASA, Comet 12P is making its way towards its closest approach to the sun, known as perihelion. The comet is expected to be nearest the sun in its 71-year orbit around the same time as the April 8th total solar eclipse. The eclipse will be visible in parts of Mexico, the U.S., and Canada. Comets are frozen fragments from the formation of our solar system about 4.6 billion years ago. They are made up of dust, rocks, and ice. As comets approach the sun, they heat up and create a glowing atmosphere, or coma. The bright tail of the comet can stretch for millions of miles. Comet 12P is a Halley-type comet. As it began to heat up and its eruptive behavior began to increase, it earned the nickname the Devil Comet because of its horn-like appearance. The horns have faded away in recent months, but photographers have been able to capture 12P's green glowing tail and even a spiral. As the comet continues to approach perihelion, it is expected to be visible to the naked eye, where it will be only 25 degrees from the sun during totality in April.
This week it's been a little bit spotty, a little rain here, a little snow there, but starting Friday, we'll have a more defined system that'll bring us rain and snow. Well, let's talk about it. Starting on Friday, a low pressure system will be located over the Midwest, over Illinois, bringing itself snow, rain, and ice. It's a big mess, but what this really results for in State College is going to be a pretty good chance of a lot of rain. This, because that's not on the map right now, this should come in the evening hours, more towards the nighttime. So going into Friday night, it should be more of a deluge situation where we'll get a lot of accumulation. But much of this snow won't really come through our area. It'll be more towards the north, towards the border with New York and across Lake Erie and Lake Ontario's respective shorelines. So going further in the future to Saturday, that's when this stuff will start to move out. We might have some backside snow showers as that cold front will bring us those lower temperatures starting on Saturday morning. But now at that point, a lot of the rain will be localized towards the Atlantic coast, say New Jersey, Connecticut, Cape Cod, and maybe locations in between there. Going into Sunday, though, as that cold front kind of moves itself off, we're going to be seeing a beautiful day. Clear is the name of the game with a high-pressure system just subtly located on top of New York, and we'll have a very nice day on tap for that. Let's go back to the poorer conditions. Friday, we'll see high of 46. The rain should kind of hold itself off until we get towards the evening hours, which is why it'll just be a little bit overcast. But once that rain comes, it will be numerous. 39 degrees will be your low with a deluge, a lot of accumulation. 39 degrees is kind of on that threshold of rain and snow, but here it should remain as rain. Saturday, that rain will start to taper in the morning. As we go through the rest of the day, that high should get to the 46 degrees, and those overcast gray skies that are right behind me should turn a little bit more blue. Saturday night, same thing. We'll have a little bit of clouds, but still a very nice night. 26 degrees is your forecast with much cooler and calmer conditions. And speaking of cool and calm, 53 degrees is your high for Sunday. Nice mild day on tap for you. This is my pick of the weekend if I had any opinion on this stuff. So up next, we'll have a feature from Matt Howard on meteorological versus astronomical seasons.
Meteorological and astronomical spring has just began here in Pennsylvania. While this time of year, sunny and pleasant conditions can be enjoyed by many people, it can definitely come to a cost for allergy sufferers. Allergies are quite common for many people, especially as trees and flowers are blooming above their average this year. Meteorological spring occurred on March 1st and is lasting through June 1st. And astronomical spring has just started on March 19th. So let's talk about the difference between these two. Meteorological seasons occur based on temperature cycles, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Each season is in 3-month cycles for many of the lower 48, as the start and end dates do not change unless in the case of a leap year. While many may not know about meteorological seasons, they are significant when it comes in terms to average weather phenomena. Although 4 seasons occur for most of the United States, many places in the southern part of the country experience a different weather pattern. For example, Hawaii only has 2 seasons for the year. They only experience winter and summer, with a low variance in temperatures for a given location on the islands. Summer occurs between May and October, while winter happens from October through April. It is critical to listen to your local or national climate or weather center for the occurrence of these meteorological seasons. Astronomical seasons are also key to understanding how seasons work, as the sun's angle to the earth plays a detrimental role in determining the dates of these seasons. The earth completes rotations and revolutions, which are very important in hindering local weather patterns. Rotations are 24 hours long, which is how long the earth completes a full spin. 365 days and a quarter of a day later, the earth completes a revolution, a complete orbit around the sun, which is representative of our year. A leap year happens every 4 years, which is an extra day in February according for the quarter of the day. Each season varies from 89 to 93 days, so it does not occur on the same day every year. There are two solstices and two equinoxes. The winter solstice occurs when there is the least daylight of the year, while the summer solstice represents the most daylight. The spring and fall equinoxes represent nearly equal length of light and darkness, but vary slightly based on latitudes. Although equinoxes and solstices remain consistent across many places around the United States, it is a different story for those in the southern hemisphere. While seasons and weather patterns are mostly consistent across the country, the weather is always changing and bringing new surprises. Climatology trends are still varying, and this is definitely due to increased CO2 levels. For Whether or Not, I am Matthew Howard.
We've already dipped our toes into the season of spring starting on Tuesday, but next week should really be the start of it. Let's start about this weekend though. Friday we'll have some rain showers in the evening hours. It should start off as an overcast day on Friday with a high of 46, and that low of 39 means that it'll be all rain heading into the overnight hours. Saturday that rain will start to taper off. It'll be left with really generally an overcast day. We might have some sun peeking out in the afternoon hours, and that will lead to another beautiful day, in my opinion, the pick of the weekend on Sunday. We'll have a high of 49 degrees with just beautiful conditions. And speaking of beautiful, maybe not Tuesday, but the entire week next week looks to be pretty generally nice with a high of maybe around 50 to 55 degrees, which really screams in my mind that we are starting to get ourselves into the true astronomical spring season. And Maddie, that brings up the quiz question for this week.
Yeah, Gavin, this question for our Weather Whiz quiz this week has to do with the spring season, actually. So the question this week is, what is the first day of spring known as? Is it A, the spring solstice, B, the autumnal equinox, C, the spring equinox, or D, the vernal equinox? If you guessed D, the vernal equinox, you would be correct. Now, Gavin, vernal actually means spring in Latin, which is where this word came from when referring to the spring season.
Interesting. That's very interesting to note. And I understand that equinox is only for the spring and fall, and then there's a different term for summer and winter as well.
That is correct. With equinox, that means you have equal night. So there's 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of nighttime during the equinox seasons.
That makes sense. And yeah, as we go towards the rest of spring, our next change of season will be June 1st for meteorological summer.
Oh, I'm excited for those higher temperatures to come around and the rain to move out a little bit.
Yeah, some nice pool days as well.
Absolutely. That's all we have for this week. Well, please join us next week for another episode of Whether or Not.